This is breaking news.
And we start with breaking news tonight. President Donald Trump seeming to call for a regime change in Iran just one day after strikes against the nation's nuclear program.
President Trump posting to Truth Social. It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change?
Jen Sullivan has details on the attack and what global leaders are saying in response.
This video captured smoke filling the sky around the Fordo nuclear facility in Iran Sunday, one of 3 nuclear sites attacked by the U.S. in what the Pentagon is calling Operation Midnight Hammer, a targeted attack to cripple Tehran's nuclear program.
Iran's nuclear ambitions have been obliterated.
The Pentagon says more than 125 military aircraft were used in the strike. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth noting the U.S. did not target Iranian troops or civilians. Iran and Israel have been exchanging deadly strikes for over a week now. The conflict began June 13th when Israel launched multiple attacks aimed at destroying Iran's nuclear program and its military leadership.
Iran cannot have nuclear weapons.
Following the U.S.'s attack, President Donald Trump addressed the nation Saturday night, saying the U.S. worked with Israel to end Iran's nuclear threat.
Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace, and we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel.
Iran's top diplomat posted on X, calling the U.S. attack, quote, outrageous, and saying it will have everlasting consequences. He also warned that Iran reserves all options to defend its sovereignty. Many top Republicans are praising the strikes, but other lawmakers condemn it.
This was not constitutional, was not lawful in the absence of a declaration by Congress. And so the administration should have come to Congress.
President Trump warned Saturday the U.S. could launch more attacks if Iran does not make peace. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
We're joined now by Indiana Democratic Congressman André Carson. Thank you for taking the time. So what is the military situation with Iran right now? Are we at war?
Well, it's certainly setting the region on fire and ignoring the constitutional role of Congress. President Trump's strikes were launched without congressional authorization, without a vote, and without transparency. The president does have limited authority under certain circumstances to invade without congressional approval. For example, some peacekeeping mission, protecting and rescuing Americans abroad, and safely removing troops. But those conditions do not apply. They don't apply. As a result, we're facing increased risks to our national security with potential nuclear conflict and a destabilized region.
And we'll talk more about the constitutional question in a moment, but Senator Todd Young said the world will be safer if Iran's nuclear capability is destroyed. Do you believe this attack makes America or the Middle East safer?
I think it makes us more vulnerable. I think especially as we've taken the most effective route, which is diplomacy, off the table. And instead of acting as a neutral broker, we are now a very dangerous participant. That is a grave and dangerous shift. It undermines our American values, innocent civilians, and our brave troops and their families will suffer as a result. I co-signed the War Powers Resolution to restore balance, the balance of Congress and the executive branch that our founders intended. So we need to stop presidential overreach. And President Trump claims to be the president that won't drag us into another war, yet here's another campaign promise that has been broken.
So why do you consider these limited strikes unconstitutional?
Well, the president does have limited authority to act without Congress, as I've stated, with previous strikes, including when President Trump was president the first time. The United States was directly involved in multiple wars happening in the Middle East, Iraq, Kuwait, Afghanistan. We're in a starkly different time than we were even when President Obama was president. We aren't already in direct conflict with other countries in the region, and if that were the case today, we could more reasonably debate congressional authority. But the United States was not directly involved in conflicts in the Middle East until yesterday. And the president has brought us into a war that we did not need to be involved in.
Should Americans take this criticism of the constitutional question seriously when many voters feel like Democrats will take any chance to call the president a dictator, threaten impeachment, or say he's crossing the line of the Constitution?
Well, absolutely. I think the Constitution is very clear in Section 1, which establishes the legislative branch of government as the entity that has the power to declare war. It isn't until we really get to other provisions that gives the presidential authority. When we get down to Article 2 of the Constitution, the president is designated as commander-in-chief of the armed forces. But there are circumstances, as I mentioned, that allows the president to respond in such a way, such as imminent attacks and threats on our troops and Americans abroad and on the home front. But he has not done so. Of course, he'll use that as an excuse to give himself cover. But I think that it's important that Americans know that Congress has the constitutional authority to declare war.
Well, the authorization for use of military force that's existed since the aftermath of 9/11 essentially gives the president a blank check to fight terrorism. The White House claims Iran sponsors terrorist groups. Why, in your opinion, does this not fit into that authorization?
Well, Iran is certainly a sworn enemy of the United States and can never be permitted to become a nuclear-capable power. But we also have to remember, in his first term, Donald Trump withdrew the United States from a very solid nuclear agreement with Iran. There wouldn't be any nuclear threat in the first place if it were not for President Trump, had he not destroyed our previous nuclear deal that was established under President Obama. We were in direct negotiations with Iran before yesterday's strike. We had brokers at the table, and diplomacy was within reach. The president has further escalated threats and is getting us into another endless war. We have to return to diplomacy.
And the president did say he wants to immediately turn to diplomacy. The Trump administration, finally, he's calling this a war on Iran's nuclear program, not the country itself. Is there a difference?
Well, I think there always has to be a difference. I mean, you can't blame an entire country and castigate them and indict them based on the actions of their leadership. We've seen this movie before with Iraq. The American people did not vote for another endless war, and I will not stay silent as we repeat the same mistakes we made during the Iraq conflict.
Congressman Carson, thank you for joining us.
What an honor. Thank you.